this is where we stopped yesterday. And there was no mistake actually. Uh, we started with this solution, which was uh, northwest corner rule method. So there the total cost of allocation was 980. As so, what we have achieved yesterday was a cost reduction by 20. So it has reached up to 960. Okay, we'll see whether the cost reduces further using the stepping stone method. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will just duplicate this sheet and we'll start working forward. I'm just removing all the loops and everything. Now our unallocated cells are S1, D3, S1, D4, S2, D1, S2, D2. After S2, D2, S3, D2, and S3, D3. So these are the ones which we have to check. So can you guys please help me? We'll start with an assumption of an allocation in that particular cell, correct? So यहाँ पर it would be +1. That is how we start. Correct, na? Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How will be the loop will form? From here, what would be the next cell?
S2D3.
So S क्या फिर से बोलिए?
S2D3.
S2D3, very good. उसके बाद में
S2D2.
S2D2 इधर नहीं आएगा बेटा, because it's a unallocated cell, so it has to be the next allocated cell. So next allocated cell फिर क्या होगा? What would be the next cell?
S2 D4.
S2 D4. Perfect. So we'll go to, from here, we'll go to S2 D4. From S2 D4,
S3 D4.
S3 D4. Thank you, sir. S3 D4. After S3 D4,
S3 D1.
S3 D1. After S3 D1,
S1 D1.
S1 D1. S1 D1, उसके लिए मेरे को I'll use this, but I will have to flip it. Flip नहीं हुआ. Okay. After that, S1 D1 to
लूप
the
का
starting,
स्टार्टिंग सर. हाँ.
starting point. So that means fine. So that basically completes my loop. अब इसमें +1 -1 वगैरह कहाँ पर आएगा? We'll start with +1. Where do we put that?
S1 D3.
S1 D3. अच्छा ऑलरेडी डाल दिया है. हमने डाल करके उस हिसाब से स्टार्टेड. ओके, -1 कहाँ पर आएगा?
S2 D3.
S2 D3. S2 D3. उसके बाद में
S2 D4 +1.
S2 D4 +1. फिर नेक्स्ट
S3 D4 -1.
-1. नेक्स्ट
S3 D1 +1.
+1. उसके बाद में नेक्स्ट
S1 D1 -1.
perfect. All done. So what would be the net effect for S1 D3? So we will start with addition plus 8 minus 6 plus 7 minus 8 plus 5 minus 4. Correct, na? Eight
Yes, sir.
minus 6 plus 7 minus 8 plus 5 minus 4. So 8 minus 6 is 2. 2 plus 7, 9. 9 minus 8 is 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. Minus 4 is 2. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's look at the next one. ये वाला तो हमको क्लियर हो गया. अभी नेक्स्ट इसके लिए हम बाजू वाला कंसीडर करेंगे. करेक्ट? I'll just delete all the others. We'll start with plus 1 here. Correct? For S1D4. आपका लूप कैसे फॉर्म होगा?
Next, S2D4 minus 1.
Okay, if I take S2D4 minus 1 यहाँ पर आएगा. फिर उसके बाद
सर डायरेक्टली S3D4 ना.
एक्चुअली इधर पर से फिर यहाँ पर जा सकते हैं, बट देन यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू मूव एनीवेयर. सो इंस्टेड ऑफ दिस यू विल टेक S3D4. That becomes your minus 1. Okay, so here you get minus 1. Okay, फिर उसके बाद में plus 1.
S3D1.
S3D1, then
S1D1.
करेक्ट. So आपका लूप बन गया. यहाँ से इधर, then this, and then back. So your S1D4 would be plus 8 minus 8 plus 5 minus 4. Correct? And after 4, you are back to the same point. So कितना हो गया? 8 minus 8 is 0. Plus 5 minus 5 is 0. So it would be 0. So
Sir, it's minus 4. -4 + 5.
Excellent. 8 plus 5 minus 4. So this would be 1. Correct?
Yes, sir.
तो एक तरह से देखा जाए तो all this is gone. एंड इसमें हम वैल्यूज डाल देते हैं। यहाँ पर जो भी वैल्यूज जो हमको मिली है, पहले वाले में हमको मिला था 2, सो विल पुट इट इन ब्रैकेट्स। यहाँ पर 2 मिला। नेक्स्ट वाले के लिए मुझे कितना मिला? 1. नाउ लेट अस लुक एट S2D1. कैसे होगा S2D1?
पहले S2D4,
S2D4, गुड।
S3D4, S3D1.
S3D4, S3D1, perfect. So that means for this it would be, it will start with +6, -7, +8, -5, and back here. So what is the net effect? 6 minus 7 is 1, -1. -1 plus 8, 7. 7 minus 5, 2. Okay. Let us look at S2D2. This one. एक चीज आपको इधर पर देखो क्लियर हो जाता है। द मिनट यू हैव मोर देन m plus n minus 1 एलोकेशन, आपका लूप फॉर्म होता है। देखिए हम एक ही एडिशनल एज्यूम कर रहे हैं। यहाँ पर +1, अभी कितने एलोकेशन है? 1 2 3 4 5 6। सो वी हैव टोटल 6 एलोकेशंस। वी शुड हैव m plus n minus 1, that is 6 only. So 6 allocations are perfect. And the minute I assume an allocation here, I am able to form a loop and it will get optimized further. इसके लिए you cannot have more than m plus n minus 1 allocations. Is it clear? बताइए अभी आगे का क्या होगा? S2D2 here from 8 to, इधर जाके मतलब नहीं है, डायरेक्ट here from 8 to 7. That means S2D2 to S2D4. From S2D4 to S3D4. From S3D4, S3D1. From S3D1, S1D1. Then S1D2 and back. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So in that case, आपका लूप कैसे बनेगा? आपका इधर पे नेट इफेक्ट क्या होगा? We are starting from this point. So 8 will get added. Then -7, plus 8 minus 5 plus 4 minus 6 and back. So net effect is 8 minus 7, 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 minus 5 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 minus 6, 2. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What about S3D2?
S3D1, S1D1, and S1D2.
S3,
D1,
S3D1, S1D1, S1D2 and
D2.
back. Okay, good. Now here also what I am seeing is गिन के दो चार लोग बस वही आंसर करते हैं, बाकी लोगों का पता ही नहीं है. क्या वो लोग लड़कियों से भी ज्यादा शर्माते हैं क्या? 7 minus 5 minus 4, sorry, plus 4 minus 6 and it's done. So 7 minus 5 is 2 plus 4 is 6 minus 6, 0. What about this one? S3D3 to S2D3, S2D4, S3D4 and back. So we'll start with plus 6 minus 6 plus 7 minus 8 and back. So equals to plus 6 minus 6, 0, plus 7 minus 8 is minus 1. So that means here we are getting it as minus 1. So that means जहां भी minus 1 आ रहा है वहां पर हम readjustments का करेंगे. Fine. So we'll form the loop and do the readjustments. So ये रहा हमारा. We are assuming an allocation here. So we'll say plus theta. क्योंकि हम readjustment कर रहे हैं इसके लिए we'll take theta. Fine. उसके बाद में if I am adding here, then I will have to subtract it from the other one. It would be minus theta there. Then plus theta here. And then minus theta here. Correct?
Hello.
Yes.
So just one query I was having. So because we got the net effect as -1, so for that we had allocated plus theta to that 6.
Correct.
Okay, okay, got it.
Fine. This is how my loop would be: plus theta, minus theta, plus theta, minus theta. Correct. Now, let us look at the negative corners and the minimum allocation in that negative corners. So minus theta, minus theta. So here it is 50, here it is 40. So choose the minimum value. Minimum value is 40. So 40 will be your theta. So theta would be 40 here, and I will add and subtract here. So if I remove theta from here, that is 40. So this becomes 10. Correct?
Yes,
I
sir.
will have to add here. So 10 becomes 50. Since I am subtracting it from here, so this becomes 0. Correct, na? And I will be adding here. So I will be getting 40 here. Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what is my total cost of allocation? It would be, if I start from here, it would be 10 into 4 plus 30 into 6 plus 10 into 6 plus 50 into 7 plus 10 into 5 plus 40 into 6. Correct? How much are we getting? Yes, the session is on. I'll speak some time. See you. Yes. What is the total cost of allocation?
So 920.
920.
920. So that means our cost has reduced further. So fine, na? आप क्या करेंगे? What would be the next step since our cost has reduced further? Is this the optimal solution? When do we say that the solution is optimal? That means this is the best solution.
M plus N minus 1.
No, when all the values for the non-allocated cells, all the opportunity cost values for the non-allocated cells comes out to be positive or zero. Zero means alternate solution is possible. Positive means there will be an increase in cost if an allocation is made in those cells, and negative means if an allocation is done in that cell, it will further reduce the cost by that opportunity cost. So कितना unit डालेंगे into opportunity cost would be the reduction possible. अभी आप देखिए आपका opportunity cost कितना था यहाँ पर पहले केस में? It was -2. Correct, na?
Yes, sir.
यहाँ
The
पर
previous one, right? Which we
हाँ
did yesterday.
एंड यहाँ पर आपका अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट -1 आया था। -1 आया था तो हमने फिर रीएडजस्टमेंट किया। -1 के हिसाब से हमारा थीटा वाज 40। अब आप देखिए आपका पहले टोटल कॉस्ट वाज 960, हमने 40 रीएडजस्ट हुआ, अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट -1 था। अब देखिए टोटल 40 ही इसमें से माइनस हुआ है, 960 से 920 पे आ गया वो, करेक्ट ना? So opportunity cost is an indicator. It tells you per unit allocation in that particular cell will increase or decrease the cost by that factor. Okay. Now, इसके बाद में हम क्या करेंगे? I'm just duplicating it and I'm removing all these things.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, yesterday we had assumed S2 D4 also. So if we assume that, then how will we take that loop further?
S2.
D4.
आप इसकी बात कर रहे हो क्या? ये एप्सिलॉन की जो हमने इसके पहले में लिया था,
नहीं सर, एप्सिलॉन यूज नहीं हुआ था उसमें, और उसका
S2D4।
भी वैल्यू नेगेटिव मतलब -2 आया था नेट इफेक्ट।
हाँ तो हमने फिर उधर पर फिर रिडक्शन किया ना, उधर पे रीएडजस्टमेंट किया था ना। ये देखिए 10, 30, 50, 10, 40 और 10 था, फिर हमने उसको रीएडजस्ट किया तो ये देखिए 10, 30, 10 चेंज हुआ ना आपका वैल्यूज। उसके
ओके
बाद में हम उसको रीएडजस्ट करते हैं,
या ओके।
यहाँ भी नेगेटिव रहेगा
तो
और ये
सर
हमने
मतलब
इधर पर ही रीएडजस्ट कर दिया था। उसके पहले का सीन कुछ ऐसा था, ये देखिए तो रीएडजस्ट हुआ तो इट बेसिकली बिकेम।
तो सर लाइक 2 अजम्पशंस में नेगेटिव वैल्यू भी आ सकती है ना?
यहाँ पर जब भी एम्प्टी सेल्स में अगर नेगेटिव वैल्यूज आती है ना, हाँ अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट, सो दैट मीन्स आपका कॉस्ट और रिडक्शन होने का चांसेस है इफ देयर इज एन एलोकेशन इन दैट सेल।
ओके
सो वी फोर्स एन एलोकेशन इन दैट सेल।
ओके
जब हम प्लस थीटा उधर पर डालते हैं और लूप फॉर्म करते हैं, दैट मीन्स वी आर ट्राइंग टू फोर्स एन एलोकेशन इन दैट सेल। ठीक है,
यस सर, थैंक
अभी
यू।
नए नए इसमें आप फिर से ये वर्कआउट करोगे।
So,
Yes.
so now again, as you had mentioned, again we have to do it like we have to iterate the process, right? So
Correct. Correct.
before we proceed, could you please explain to why this is not an optimal solution?
Uh, we don't know whether it's an optimal solution or not. To check whether it's an optimal solution, we need to redo it. समझा ना?
Okay, so when we will get to know that it is an optimal solution? Like I got your statement, but I somehow didn't get it, like understood it.
I'm happy that you said that. कि आपको नहीं समझा. Okay. अभी देखिए, we don't have any indicator which tells me that this is a optimal solution. जब भी हम non-empty cells के लिए we are calculating opportunity cost, that time it tells me if there is a negative value, that means further cost reduction is possible. That is my only indicator. Okay, so that means I am left out with no choice other than to check whether the non-empty cells, if I make an allocation now in the non-empty cells, it will further reduce my cost. तो हम क्या करेंगे, फिर से लूप बना बना करके सबका चेक करेंगे और अगर सबका values positive आया, so that means the solution obtained by us is an optimal solution and we don't need to further reduce the cost. ठीक है?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Got it. Thank
Now
you, sir.
if I consider this cell, so my loop would be formed like from S1D3 to S3D3, S3D1, S1D1 and back. So S1D3 will be 8 minus 6 plus 5 minus 4. Correct? 8 minus 6 is 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 minus 4 is 3. This says if I'm making an allocation in this cell, then it will increase my cost per unit cost by 3. S1D4. S1D4 के लिए आपका लूप कैसे बनेगा? यहाँ से इधर, 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 इधर and back to S1D4. Correct? Perfect. Yes, no. ऐसे, 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 इधर, इधर and back. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So S1D4 में क्या आएगा? 8 minus 7 plus 6 minus 6 plus 5 minus 4. कितना हो रहा है? 8 minus 7 is 1 plus 6 7. 7 minus 6 is 1 plus 5. 6 minus 4 is 2. Clear? I'm waiting for your response. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Now going forward, the next would be S2D1. यहाँ पर क्या होगा? Plus, minus, plus, minus. So that means 6 minus 6 plus 6 minus 5. कितना हो गया? 6 minus 6 is 0 plus 6 minus 5 is 1. S2D2, this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So plus 8 minus 6 plus 6 minus 5 plus 4 minus 6 and कितना हुआ ये टोटल? 8 minus 6 is 2 plus 6 is 8. 8 minus 5 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7 minus 6, that is 1. I assume that you are understanding it.
Yes, so we are understanding. Just the thing is, we are taking some time to process it and note it down.
Okay. I just don't want to rush because unnecessarily this is the time when we are working on the basics. So if I rush at this juncture, it will be a problem. S3D, this one, your loop would be formed 7 to 5, 5 to 4, 4 to 6, and then back. So that means 7 minus 5 plus 4 minus 6 and back. So this is 7 minus 5 is 1 plus 4 is 5 minus 6 is minus 1. Sorry, 7 minus 5 is 2. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 minus 6 0.
So 0.
S3 D3. This one. Sorry, S3 D3 नहीं आएगा इसमें. S3 D4. ठीक है, S3 D4. That means this one. अब लूप कैसे होगा? सिंपल है ना? So 8 minus 6 plus 6 minus 7. कितना हो गया? 8 minus 6 plus 6.
1.
So since we have got all the values as positive, so that means the current solution is an optimal solution. Correct? And the fine. Are we clear up to this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What we'll do is we'll take up the UV method now. Okay. हमको ये तो clear हो गया. This is an optimal solution. So that means no further iteration or anything is required. This is the end of it. Now let us look at, just duplicate it, and I will use UV method. Okay. ऊपर वाले इसको ही लेकर के करें क्या? Rather than this one. तो हम लोगों को 2 iteration हो जाएगा. At least we will be comfortable. Northwest corner का ही लेकर के करते हैं. Fine. 20 20 10 50 50. Twenty 20 10. Now Here what we are going to do is, यहाँ पर वो लूप वूप वाला झंझट ही नहीं है. यहाँ पर हम बोलते हैं 2 1 equals to.
ये नॉर्थ वेस्ट कॉर्नर वाला टेबल लिया ना,
हाँ,
तो वो S2D2 में आएगा ना 10 और 50 ऊपर आएगा ना, मतलब जो 10 है.
एक मिनट कुछ तो गड़बड़ किया मैंने.
वो 20 के नीचे आएगा ना 10.
20, हाँ 10 इधर आएगा, 50 50, 20 20 10. Okay. ठीक है, अभी बराबर है ना. What we do is we identify two major components, U and V. Okay. Similarly, on this side, just a second. Is there any background noise at my end?
Yes, sir, a bit like vibrating sound. Or just a few seconds.
It's too hot here in college, and the fan for me is not working. I started the AC, but then that AC is getting a lot of noise. Just a second. ऐसे लगता है जैसे हेलीकॉप्टर चालू कर दिया हमने. Okay. V1, V2, V3, V4. Similarly, on this side, U1, U2, and U3. Now, what we do is we the cost of allocation will be checking later. At this junction, the total cost of allocation is 980 because we have used the UV method, correct? The northwest corner rule method. So the solution obtained, basic feasible solution received from northwest corner is being used. This is not to be worried about now. what we are going to do is we assume that all the cost elements, that is all the, we indicate them as Cij equals to Ui plus Vj. That means is it clearly visible?
Yes, sir.
This is valid for just a second. Hello. This was for allocated cells, and for unallocated cells is for unallocated cells. Opportunity cost is Cij minus Ui plus Vj. So we'll calculate the values of Ui and Vj using the allocated cells. Okay, and we'll find out the opportunity cost for the unallocated cells using the identified values of Ui and Vj. Now, what is this Ui and Vj? What is this Cij? Cij is the cost of that particular cell. So that means C11 equals to U1 plus V1. So it is assumed that every cost has got two components. One is a part of the supplier and the other is a part of the customer, that is demand center. So Cij, that means this 4 is equal to U1 plus V1. This 6 equals to U1 plus V2. This 8 is equal to U2 plus V2. Okay, are we clear up to this?
No,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Can you repeat?
Every cost, that is this cost Cij, is equal to Ui plus Vj. So that means C11 is equal to U1 plus V1. C12 is equal to U1 plus V2. Clear? Any doubts there?
No, sir. You repeated like C12 is equal to
U1 plus
U1 plus
V2.
V2. Okay.
C22 will be equal to U2 plus V2. Similarly, C33 will be equal to U3 plus V3. It is only for all the allocated cells. Now, since we don't know the values for any of them, neither U1 nor neither U's nor V's. So what we do is we start from somewhere. So we say we will start with U1 equals to 0. So if we are assuming U1 equals to 0, now can you tell me the value for V1? 4 is equal to 0 plus this. So what is the value for V1? 4 minus 0. 4. 3, 4. Now since I know the value for U1 is 0. So what is the value for V2? V2 would be 6 minus 0. So 6. Now since I know V2 and I want to find out U2, 8 equals to U2 plus V2. So V2 is 6. So U2 equals to 8 minus 6. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, since I know U2, can I find out V4? 7 minus 2 would be 5. So V4 is 5. After that, I cannot find any other values. Correct? Because U3 is not known, V3 is also not known, so I cannot calculate for this one. At least one value should be known. Perfect. And since this was a degenerate solution, we'll have to introduce epsilon. Fine. So we'll do it the same way how we did earlier. So we'll introduce an epsilon here. मुझे एक्चुअल वैल्यू ऑफ एप्सिलॉन मिल गई है कुछ बुक्स में ये भी यूज किया है बट आप दिस इज हाउ इट इज मेजरली यूज्ड फाइन हेलो
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
so can we move ahead I have introduced an epsilon now since epsilon is a very small value okay almost negligible so now we have 6 allocations 1 2 3 4 5 6 epsilon is always introduced in the least cost cell and that too we need to ensure that it is not forming any loop तो देखो किसी भी allocated cell के साथ में loop बन रहा है क्या नहीं है ना at the same time it should help us in identifying the next set of u and v values so when I'm placing it here v1 is known so can I calculate u3 5 minus 4 would be 1 now since u3 is 1 so 6 minus 1 is 5 so now do I have values for all the values of u and v
Yes, sir.
so now we will start calculating the opportunity cost. So let us do it for S1D3. Okay, हम यहाँ पर Cij minus Ui plus Vj. This is the formula which we are going to use. Fine. उसके लिए मुझे एक so Cij is 8 minus summation of these two, 5 plus 0. 5 plus 0 is 5, 8 minus 5 is 3. So my opportunity cost is 3. Correct? हमने स्टेपिंग स्टोन मेथड से इसके लिए पहले कैलकुलेट किया था फर्स्ट इंस्टेंस में. कैन वी लुक एट दैट? यही था क्या? नहीं. ये वाला था ना. तो यहाँ पर हमको क्या मिला? 4 20 20 10 50 50. हमको यहाँ पर क्या आ रहा है? हमने उधर कुछ गड़बड़ किया था क्या? Anyway, I'll check that. यहाँ पर what we are getting? एक मिनट, let me check the values for U and D. I think कहीं कुछ गड़बड़ ना हो. Okay, before we move on. So for allocated cell, I'm starting with U1 equals to 0. So V1 is 4. U1 is 0. So V2 is also 6. Okay, since this is 6, 8 minus 6, this is 2. So since this is 2, so 7 minus 2 is 5. After that, we have introduced an epsilon here because we were not able to calculate other values. So after introduction of epsilon, since this was 4, 5 minus 4 is 1. Since this is 1, 6 minus 1, so this is 5. Okay. Now, Cij minus Ui plus Vj, so we get this as 3. Fine. Let us look at for others also. बाकी के भी सब हम calculate करते हैं. यहाँ तक सही है. यहाँ पर क्या आएगा? Cij minus Ui plus Vj. So 8 minus 0 plus 5. 8 minus 0 plus 5 is 3. Same. What about this cell? How much will it be? 6 minus 4 plus 2. 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. Let us look at the next. कोई कुछ बोल ही नहीं रहा है. Are you guys following it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. For this, 6 minus 2 plus 5, 7. 5 plus 2 is 7. So 6 minus 7 is minus 1. What about this next cell? 7 minus 1 plus 6. 7 minus 7 is 0. What about this one? 8 minus 1 plus 5 is 6. So 8 minus 6 is 2. This says this is the cell where there is an opportunity of cost reduction. Correct? So अब हम यहाँ पर एक 1 का एलोकेशन जैसे समझ करके विल डू द रीएडजस्टमेंट. तो आपका लूप कैसे बनेगा? हम इसमें प्लस थीटा लेकर के करेंगे. सो वी विल क्रिएट द लूप प्लस theta. So I will make an allocation plus theta in this cell. फिर लूप आपका कैसे बनेगा? Let me form the loop. यहाँ पर से इधर नीचे, यहाँ next, next, back and here. Correct ना?
Yes, sir.
At least please
Yes, sir.
are you guys not following it?
Understood, sir.
So, when I minus theta plus theta minus theta plus theta minus 9 to are you able to see the loop? यहाँ से इधर ऐसे 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 and back. Fine.
Yes, sir.
So negative values of theta arrows डाल देते हैं. It would be easy. So we'll just see. I'm just drawing the arrows which we are going to use it for forming the loop. So just a second. So we have got all the four. Now we will start drawing it from here. From this point to here. थोड़ा और थिक करने की जरूरत है क्या? और it is visible. कुछ भी नहीं बोलता है यार.
Sir, it is not visible.
तो थोड़ा ठीक करना पड़ेगा.
Okay. So we'll start from here. So your first movement would be from S2 D3 to S3 D3, correct? Then the next from S3 D3 to here S3 D1. From S3 D1, then the next would be up to this point, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then from S1 D1 to S1 D2. From S1 D2 to S2 D2. From S2 D2 to S2 D3. And that is how your loop will be completed. Clear?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So negative theta values जहां जहां पर है, you will take the minimum negative value. Which is your minimum negative value? यहाँ पर 20 है, 10 है, and 50, 20, 10 and 50. So minimum theta value is 10. So
10.
theta would be equal to
10.
theta will be equal to 10. So आपका उस हिसाब से readjustments होगा. So मैं readjustments next इसमें करता हूँ. I've just duplicated it. So 10 will be subtracted from here. हम यहाँ पर से ही चीजें शुरू करते हैं. हाँ, यहाँ पर पहले इस सेल में आपका 10 का एडिशन आ जाएगा. ठीक है, क्योंकि कुछ भी नहीं था तो 0 + 10 will be 10. यहाँ पर आपका सब्सट्रैक्शन होगा. So 50 - 10 would be 40. Epsilon plus 10 will be 10. 20 - 10 will be 10. यहाँ पर एडिशन होगा. 20 + 10 becomes 30 and 10 - 10 it goes away. Correct? So this is what you will get as a reallocation or after adjustment. So we'll remove all the minus theta values because we'll have to check it again. अभी उसमें स्टेपिंग स्टोन में हमको एक एक सेल पूरे सब चेक करने पड़ रहे थे, इसमें वो सेल्स का भी चेकिंग काफी फटाफट हो जाता है. ओके, जस्ट विद द यूवी वैल्यू. उसमें हम लोगों को उसको करने को 15-20 मिनट लगे थे, क्योंकि लूप फॉर्म करना है, सब वो करके करते करते इट टुक अ व्हाइल. फाइन. Whereas in this case it was faster, and hence people normally go for UV method instead of stepping stone. But stepping stone का ये जो लास्ट में रीएडजस्टमेंट का है वो जरूरत पड़ता है. That's the reason why I taught stepping stone first. Clear? So now we will again start with UV. Whenever we do some readjustments, हम U1 equals to 0 से तो रखते ही हैं. आप कहीं से भी शुरू कर सकते हो. Not necessarily it has to be from U1 equals to 0. Fine. बाद में मैं जब आपको एक्सेल का मेथड सिखाऊंगा तो उसमें यूवी वगैरह कुछ भी जनरेट करने की जरूरत नहीं है. That's the beauty of doing it on Excel. Fine. So this is your B allocated value. Now again we will start with Cij equals to Ui plus Vj for the allocated cells. So this is your allocated cell. If I say U1 equals to 0, then V1 equals to 4 minus 0, 4. What about this? V2 will be equal to 6 minus 0, so 6. Now, after that, since I already know V1, I can calculate U3. So let us do that. So 5 minus 4 would be 1. So U3 equals to 1. Now, since U3 is known, I can calculate V3. So 6 minus 1. So V3 is 5. Now, since V3 is 5, so 6 minus 5, so U2 equals to 1. Once U2 equals to 1, so V4. So 7 minus 1, so V4 equals to 6. Correct, na? Have we got all the values for U and V?
Yes, sir.
After getting all the values for U and V, we'll start doing the calculations for unallocated cells. So हम पहला वाला लेते हैं. So what will be the value here? 8 minus 0 plus 5. 8 minus 0 plus 5 is 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. What about this one? The next cell, 8 minus 0 plus 6. So 0 plus 6 is 2. 8 minus 0 plus 6 is 6. 8 minus 6 is 2. After this, let us look at this one. So 6 minus 1 plus 4 is 5. So 6 minus 5 is 1. What about this one? Next cell, 8 minus 1 plus 6, 8 minus 7. So 8 minus 7 is 1. We don't have any other unallocated cell in that particular row, so we'll start with the next row. वहां पर again 1 plus 6 is 7, 7 minus 7 is 0. So 6 minus 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. Sorry, उधर पर allocated के लिए नहीं करना है, जिसके लिए आपको 0 भी आया, यहाँ पर करना होगा unallocated. So here it will be how much? 8 minus 1 plus 6. 1 plus 6 is 7. 8 minus 7 is 1. Sari values positive, I. So that means this is an optimal solution. What is the total cost of allocation? 10 into 4 plus 30 into 6 plus 10 into 6 plus 50 into 7 plus 10 into 5 plus 40 into 6. कितना आ रहा है ये total? 10 into 4 is 40 plus 180, that is 220. 220 plus 60, 280. 280 plus 350. 280 plus 350, 5, 630. 630 plus 50. So 680 plus 680 plus 240. 680 plus 240 is 920. अपने को यही आंसर मिला था ना स्टेपिंग स्टोन से भी?
Yes, sir.
इसमें हमको वो फटाक से सीधा मिल जाता है. So that is one of the reasons why people go for UV method instead of stepping stone. But UV method also uses a part of stepping stone, and hence doing stepping stone first was required. Clear up to this?
Yes, sir.
So whenever we are solving any transportation problem, so step 1, get initial basic feasible. Sorry, we have already exceeded our time.
So you can take the break as well, so we'll be able to finish it early.
Is it okay with all?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll finish at 1:30.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
done. Yeah. Thank you. I just lost track of time. Get initial basic feasible solution using any of the methods, including northwest corner, least cost, or Vogel's approximation. Step 2, hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Step 2, optimize using any of the methods mentioned below. First, stepping stone or UV method. Okay, दोनों में what is the check for optimality? और अदर मैं इसको ऐसे लिखता हूँ कि optimality check और indicator क्या रहेगा? All the opportunity cost values are positive. In case of negative opportunity cost, for further optimization needs to be done. Are we clear with this? याद रहेगा?
Yes, sir.
So till this point, we are finished with all the methods in when we talk about the conceptual methods which are required to be learned for solving transportation problems. What we'll do is we'll take up some numericals. Okay, we'll in some of the we'll take up some very simple one, so that first we will just get a hands-on the method, and then we will take the other ones where we will be formulating it. So we'll be converting it into transportation problem. Okay, so in case if you want 5-10 minutes break तो बोलिएगा मुझे. So this is the first one. A manufacturer wants to ship 22 loads of his product as shown below. Okay, the matrix gives the kilometers from sources of supply to the destination. The shipping cost is 10 per load per kilometer. What shipping schedule should be used in order to minimize the transportation cost? Can we try solving it? Now you guys know the method. Yeah, should I do it first? What is your comfort
So can
level?
you please do the first sum for us?
Okay.
Thank you.
It's थोड़ा सा गड़बड़ हो गया, so I'll just put everything properly. Fine. Are we okay up to this?
Yes, sir.
You can use northwest corner or least cost, whatever that you are comfortable. I would prefer using Vogel's approximation WAM because that gives me solution very fast. Okay, so I will try and use Vogel's. Okay, normally as far as I feel, majority of you would have found it difficult also. तो इसी बहाने वो प्रैक्टिस भी हो जाएगा. This I am doing it for identifying the penalty. Correct? We remember Vogel's. We identify the penalty first. Correct? So we'll start by calculating penalty. So along the column, how much is the penalty? What is penalty? Penalty is the difference between the least and the second least number. Second least cost. That means if I am not able to allocate in the least cost cell, then and I am forced to make an allocation in this second least, then how much extra I need to pay. So in this column, least is 4, second least is 5, 5 minus 4 is 1. What is the penalty for this one? 4 and 7. So penalty is 3. For the next one, how much is the penalty here now?
1.
0. Least value is 6. Second least, definitely yes, it's 7, but I have a second cell which is again 6 only. So I have two options available. Hence, the penalty here would be 0. Okay, 6 minus 6. What about here?
0.
0. What
1.
about here?
1.
1. Let us look at it from row wise now. Least value 3, second least 5. So
2.
penalty is 2. What about here?
1.
5 and 4, so it is 1. Then
0.
0.
0.
4 and 4, so it would be 0. So now I will be this will indicate that I am choosing this one. So because that has the nahi, sorry, ये वाला choose करना पड़ेगा, the highest penalty. हाईएस्ट पेनल्टी कौन सा है? ये वाला है, करेक्ट ना?
Yes, sir.
तो दैट मीन्स ये वाला हम चूज करेंगे। तो लीस्ट कॉस्ट सेल में मैक्सिमम एलोकेशन करना है। विच वन इज योर लीस्ट कॉस्ट सेल? Which one is your least cost cell?
4.
4. So this one. अब इसमें कितना हम एलोकेट करेंगे?
So it was to be 3, right? S1
कितना कर सकते हैं?
Sir, 3.
हाँ, supply capability is 9 and
So 3
demand is
has to
for
be the
4.
least cost cell, right?
So we can allocate all 4.
Sir, 3 has to be the least cell, yes.
Sorry,
3 सबसे छोटा है ना सर?
3 तो आपका पेनल्टी है. Penalty will only just help you in identifying the
So
row or
that
column.
S1 D5, S1 D5.
S1 D5, yes sir.
हाँ, बट आपको सिर्फ वही वाला रो या कॉलम देखना है जिसका पेनल्टी सबसे ज्यादा है. तो इस पर्टिकुलर कॉलम में we have got only 4, 7 and 8, 3 cells. So out of all the 3, the least cost cell is 4. So we'll make an allocation in this cell. Okay. Yes, no. Confusion.
Yes.
Yes sir, got it.
Yes, sir.
Confusion resolved?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So what is the maximum that we can allocate here?
4.
4.
4. So once we have allocated 4, so I have already allocated 4. So this will reduce and become
0.
0.
0.
No further allocation could be possible here. At the same time, your supply capacity here will reduce to
5.
5.
5. Correct? Now, what is the next set of penalties? Once one allocation is done, so since it has exhausted, we are not going to calculate penalty for this particular column, and we'll start from here. So the penalty will still remain the same, 5 and 4. So difference is 1. Here blank. 6 and 6. So it would be
0.
0. 6, 6, 6. So
0.
again it would be 0. 3 and 4. So it would be 1. Let us look at it row wise. So 3 and 5. So it would be then second is 4 and 5. So it would be
1.
1. And here
2.
4 and
And
6.
6.
So very good. 2. Now, which is the highest penalty? This as well as this. So which one to choose? If I go with this, the least cost value is 3. If I go with this, the least cost value is 4. So I will go with this one because the least cost value is 3 here. How much can I allocate here in
8.
this particular cell? So I can allocate entire 8. Sorry. The minute I make an allocation of 8 here, this has exhausted. So 0. No further allocation would be possible in any of these cells, and since this has also exhausted, so no further allocation would be possible here. Correct? After this, what is the next thing? We'll calculate the penalties again. So this time we'll not be calculating penalty for this particular column, this particular row. So for this second row, least cost is 4 and second is 6. So penalty is 2. What about here? 6, 6,
2.
so 6. So it is 0. Let's look at it from column wise, 4 and 8. So
4.
penalty is 4. Here,
Okay.
no penalty would be calculated. What about this? 7
1.
and 6. So 1.
0.
Here, 6 and 6. So
No penalty.
0. Here, it would be blank. Now, highest penalty, this one.
4.
So we'll consider this for this column for allocation. So which cell we will choose for allocation? This one, because this is the least cost cell in this column. So how much can we allocate here?
4.
4. So the minute we make an allocation of 4, so it has exhausted. This has become 0. So no further allocation would be possible here. And this has reduced to
1.
1. Okay. So we'll recalculate the penalties. So now we don't need to worry about this as well as this one. Okay. Here the penalty is 1. Here the penalty is 0. Here we will not calculate the penalty. Now going row wise. So first one we will not consider. Second,
1.
1. Third,
0.
0. Now which one to choose? Either I choose this one and I reach to 6. Okay. If I choose this one, I again reach to 6. So either of these two. Okay. Now, how much allocations are possible in which cell? In this cell, 5, and in this 1. So which one to be chosen first? This one, because we can make 5 units as an allocation here. So we'll make 5 here. The minute I make an allocation of 5, this becomes 0. So this is gone, and this has also exhausted. And this has exhausted, so this is also gone. So now I am left out with only just one cell for allocation. And how much is required there?
1.
1. So इधर पर 1, इधर पर 4. गड़बड़ है, मतलब हमने कुछ कहीं कुछ मिस किया क्या?
Hello, sir.
हाँ, कहीं पर कुछ मिस किया क्या? Was
सप्लाई
the
और डिमांड ही मैच नहीं कर रहा है ना सर.
Demand or supply match.
Yes, sir.
तो पहले हम लोगों को first step that we should have done is we should have checked the demand and supply and should have added a row or a column appropriately. So यहाँ पर क्या आएगा? आपका डिमांड कितना था? 4, 4, 5, 4, 8. Correct? So 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 5, 13. 13 plus 4, 17. 17 plus 8, 25. And supply was 8 plus 5 plus 9. So 8 plus 9 is 17. 17 plus 5 is 22. So हमको क्या ऐड करने की जरूरत थी? A row or a column. Total supply is 22. Total demand is 25.
Sir, dummy row.
Perfect. We needed to add a dummy row first. So you will add a dummy row first, then you will start working around. Will you guys try it now? Once you get ये पूरा मेथड फिर वापस से करना होगा. Okay. So हमेशा before you start, first thing check whether it's a balanced problem. Okay. So how to go about solving the problem? Before getting initial basic feasible solution, check if it's a balanced problem. If not, balance it by adding a dummy row or dummy column as per the requirement with cost elements as 0. वो जो भी आप डमी रो या कॉलम डालेंगे उसमें कॉस्ट एलिमेंट्स वुड बी 0. Will we do this? ट्राई करोगे फटाफट? 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
How much will be the supply for dummy row?
3.
3, sir.
3. अब इसके बाद में will you try solving it for row and column? That is using Vogel's approximation.
Yes, sir.
Are we comfortable doing it?
Yes, sir.
Great. Should I do it parallelly or should I wait?
Yes, sir,
You
you
can do
can do it.
parallel.
हम क्लास चालू है मैम, थोड़ी देर में आपको बोलता हूँ। बैच बी नहीं I'm just preparing the template for optimization. I'm solving it for others who have not yet done. So first row, penalty. First row penalty would be
Two.
So it would be second row, it would be 1. Third row, it is
0.
0. Fourth row, it would be
0.
0. First column, it is
4.
4. 0 and 4, so penalty would be
4.
4. Second column,
4.
penalty would be 4. Third column, penalty would be
6.
6. Fourth column,
6.
6. So which one to choose? Sorry, one more is left out.
3.
0 and 3. So it would be 3. Now, highest penalty is this one. So I will choose this one. So
Sir, D4
Sir, it's
penalty is.
D4. Yes, sir, it's 6, no?
sorry.
Sir, D4 penalty is 6 and not 0.
Sorry, it would be 6. Perfect. Thank you. When you guys correct me, that says now you have understood it right. And when I make mistakes, that means I've got emotional. In a hurry, I just overlook things. Okay, so we can choose either of the two. Fine. So which one to choose? Now, if I come here, I will be able to allocate 4 units here. And if I choose this one, I will be able to allocate, sorry, in either
So
case.
three.
So let me choose this one, because in all the cells above, the cost elements are 666. If I choose 3 here, automatically गलती से भी अगर कुछ इस सेल में आया तो कम impact पड़ेगा. So I will prefer to use this one. Okay. So I will, एक second. So I will make an allocation here in this cell. How much? 3. देखिए जो आपने डमी बनाया वो सबसे पहले एलिमिनेट हो जाता है. फाइन. सो दिस इज टेकन केयर ऑफ. इट बिकम्स 0, whereas this reduces to 2. Fine. Now another, again we will calculate our penalties. So the penalties for this one will remain the same. 4. In this particular case, the penalty will become 6 and 6, so 0. Here the penalty would be 6. Here
3.
सॉरी अपना टाइम भी हो गया है. आप इसको कंप्लीट करेंगे क्या?